Hello folks, welcome to the Captain's Academy. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Strategic Transport Assault Gunship, also known as STAG. STAG is a mid-game spawn, Core 6 SV. Its role can be defined by you. Starting in as a light transport with thruster upgrades, this can accommodate as a high G transport, or a assault gunship, also high G, or anything in between. It's designed to work as a system with attachable pods, SV fighters, or whatever else you can sling under those wings. So, starting out of the gate, one thing we want to do is take note of our generator placement. We'll want to upgrade that as you upgrade your devices. So I've designed a system here to flag where the generator placements are. So what we want to do is we'll access that through the P menu, and we'll just scroll down here and toggle the generator placement. And so this flagging here, this will denote where your generator placement and upgrades are. So spawning in, we have a handful of small generators. So for Reforged Eden, you'll probably want to upgrade those to advanced to make it more efficient. So let's have a look at that. So we'll want to take these two here. These are outside of the main engineering area. Okay, so those two are placed. Now these are going to be vertical stacks. So we'll just want to remove these small generators and rotate our generator. You don't want to remove this. This is a break wall intended to mitigate against chain reactions. And here at the end, in between these beams, you're going to have a sneaky little placement. All right, so now that we have all of that in place, this should be able to accommodate any sort of device placement that you have, any number of combination, be it progenitor, shield, all of the shield extenders for Reforged Eden, and quite a few number of turrets, which we'll go over here in a minute. So first thing is that it's going to spawn in without a warp drive. So if that's your thing, you want to add that in. We'll take a look at removing these blocks to get that placed. And then we want to get this thin block. All right. Should be able to drop that in. There it is. Nice and snug. Nice little presentation. All right, so we want to consider CPU placement as this thing grows. So we're going to be spawning in. We have 4 advanced core and a basic. So this will leave us space to supplement with 1 additional advanced and 2 improved for Reforged Eden players. So what we want to do, this is going to be our CPU placement. We want to look for these round cylinder blocks. We're going to remove these. We're not going to worry about taking like the square block here. Don't mess with these. These are armoring, and once you pop those, you're going to start bleeding out into the atmosphere. So that's something we want to do. All right, so moving forward, we're just going to go ahead and remove 2 of these guys here. Okay, so that's going to be our advanced, our single advanced, and go over here. Okay, there's our pair of improved. Now, so we do have enough space here for our standard Reforged Eden scenarios, your 10-10 system, that being 10 quantum and 10 auxiliary. It also does make provision for additional core modded scenarios, such as Anvil Server, which is working on a triple 10 system with the addition of hamster cores, which acts as auxiliary. So yeah, we'll just continue to pull these cylinder blocks until we have our fulfillment of whatever our max is on that. Should be spacing there for, I think it was 44 total cores, so you'll be able to meet your needs plus some. So maybe you could repurpose some of these areas for additional devices. Okay, so that being the conclusion of our CPU, since we're inside, let's take a look at our shield placement. Extended shields for Reforged Eden. It does have place for all 16 of them. So what we're going to be looking at here is we have 2 placements on either side for the shields being laid down. Okay. Now moving through here into these next following compartments, our placement is going to be vertical, so that we're going to utilize a double run of 3. Okay. You know, just throw that in however you wish. That's kind of a little bit messy. Maybe I'd rotate them in a proper setting. Okay, yeah, so that's it. That's all 16 if that's how you want to do it. Me personally, I just kind of, I cut out some of the recharge at the end. I feel that with the addition of a progenitor shield, the recharge is sufficient. Okay, so one thing to note is we have an optional core placement. So this is our initial spawn-in value for our core. Now moving forward, what we can do is, if we're of the impression that maybe our build wants to go disabled and not chew into some of the devices, we have an optional core placement here up front. So you would just remove that and move that up here. So that would intentionally destroy the power to the build, and this thus makes the enemy AI passive. So that way all of these devices would be preserved. Kind of 2 schools of philosophy about it. Like, some people, they want the core up front. Maybe some people want it in more of a midsection. So, well, that option is there for you. Okay, moving forward for thrusters, we do have quite a few options here. So let's have a look at strafe first. With the thruster placement, we want to be looking for the quad size vent deco. So we'll just pop off these guys here and the following blocks behind them. Okay, that's the placement. And then we have these guys back here at the ends. All right. Okay, so that pretty much concludes strafe. Now, looking at our dorsal mount, what we have going here is the same system. Just be on the lookout for the vent deco. And that's it. Maybe not so robust on the dorsal lift, but it's there. It should be sufficient. Okay, so for lift, we have a number of things here. We have first our initial placement there, and then same thing here. We've got, just keeping with the trend of the system, we're going to be looking for the vent deco. Now the X's here, you don't want to push past that. That's going to be your break point for your device placement. The reoccurring theme throughout my build, so you're kind of looking for that. Lift, now what we're looking at here is our 7x3 size thrusters. Now we do have options, so rather than continuing to add a couple of those, we can go for the improved jet thruster. So this will give our maximum value here, our 3x10 thruster. So we'll just take that out, and we want to push that all the way up to the ceiling. Okay, so that's one placement. Continuing to remove these blocks here could provide placement for 2 additional on either side. There it is. Okay, now we are definitely high G compliant. This was tested in a 4.2G setting with a pretty prolific placement of turrets, and it seems to have performed pretty well with that. All right, so having a look here, let's take a look at reverse. So we have a couple things going on. So we have our initial spawn in here. These are 3x7. So again, here we can go for our 3x10 improved. So what we want to do to free that up is just to make sure we get this orientation right. All right. Okay. So now, first we're going to remove the thruster. We want to remove these subsequent blocks here. Okay. I believe that's it, or do we need to remove this as well? Let's find out. Yeah, okay. These things are picky at times. Alright, that's it. Now we have our placement. Okay, so that is reverse for the improved jet. Now we can also supplement with a couple of the medium jets. We can exploit these nacelles here. This has placement, so what we'll do is remove this block here, and then this layer, and now that opens it up. There we go. All right, so with a couple of the exceptions, that should conclude our reverse thrust. Now forward, we have a few things going on here. Again, we're tapping into the 3x10, so what we want to do is I have a faux deco system here. I'm sorry, yeah, a faux thruster deco system. Just going to remove these blocks. For the eagle-eyed of you, you should have noticed that as we were working on the other one inside. Just making sure to clear all of that. And then we want to take these half blocks all the way up. There it is. Now we have placement for our 3x10. Boom. Look at that. Okay, good to go. Alright, so now this is an optional placement. This could be placement for an additional medium jet thruster, or you could save this area for a turret placement, and we'll go over that here in a second. But first, let's take a look. We do have placement for some supplemental thrust, these advanced large, if you just absolutely want to min-max the area for additional thrust. So what we want to look at here is the single device deco. And we're just going to push back till we get to the X for that. And there's our placement. Same thing here on this opposite side of the docking and embarkment. Okay, that's that. So we got a couple sneaky ones here for reverse as well. See this little compartment here. We're just going to go in here and remove this deco and these subsequent blocks. Again, not pushing past the X. And there we go. Now this is going to be, I guess that could be optional thrusters or additional weapons, which is what it's intended for. So let's take a look at that. Moving on to weapons. Now STAG has placement for 16 or more additional guns. You have an option here. You could push back once or twice, depending on how you want the profile of it to look. Maybe you want the guns to be a little more menacing and prominent looking, right? If it wants to place. There we go. Okay, that's kind of, that's a little more tucked in, but maybe we want to give it a little more menacing vibe. So we'll just not delete that second layer. We'll just get rid of the vent deco. Just kind of an aesthetic option, really. It has no meaning in play. So yeah, no, it's sticking out a little bit more, giving it a little more of a threat to it. You know, stag means business. Okay, so this is an easy get here. Just get rid of that antenna. And we have a couple options here. We want to get rid of this fake antenna. Don't have an X mark there, but could be pretty explanatory. Okay, there it is. That's pretty much it for our weapon mounts. I guess you could do some additional here. This is like an optional placement. You probably want to go turret. If not, if you want more guns, you could just, you know, probably push back on some of these blocks. I don't necessarily have that flag, but that can be an option. You know, you just want to go crazy. Maybe you want to. Maybe 16 isn't enough for you. So that'll give you placement for 6 additional ones. Okay, so moving on to turrets, we have quite a few. We can range up to conservatively 29 additional turrets. So first thing we want to get is this one right here. It's pretty easy. Just to note, what we're looking for here is this, it's like a, I don't know, I guess I call it a cabinet texture. Some of these are round blocks, but usually, in many cases, it's just going to be that particular cabinet texture. So, yeah. So again, this could be our supplemental turret placement there, optional for weapons or turrets. So moving forward, let's go ahead and start coding this thing out. Staying with the trend here, just looking for that little texture there. That's going to be our placement. Now, there are some exceptions where this is the thin block. Couldn't place that there. I guess you could maybe do a build up there for like a full-size block and drop a turret there if you want to do that. But for the most part, that's it. Now, having a look at our rear, we have an option here if you want to. I don't necessarily have this flagged, but just to point it out, if we want to remove that block, that'll give us placement for an additional. You got to beef up. Maybe you don't like drones. Maybe you really don't like drones. There you go. There's 2 additional ones. All right, so our standard placement is there. Again, this is a optional placement if you wanted to do a thruster or a turret to block that up. There's your turret. Or maybe you just want a little bit more supplemental thrust. Yeah, we're just gonna look at our option there. Just take that block out. There you go. However you want to do it. Alright, so let's see, that's our top. Now, we have a couple things going on here. We have our Rebel logo. If you want to preserve that, you wouldn't want to worry about additional turret placement, but if you want to, you just go ahead and cover that up. Maybe you work for the Galactic Empire and you're not concerned with rebel scum. Yeah, speaking of which, if you want to, that is a optional toggle. So we can turn the rebel branding off if we want to. Alright, so that should be it for our top mounts as well as our rear. Actually, we got a couple here, but this is more on the bottom. Take a look at that. Let's get this baby in the air a little bit more. Okay. Now, the bottom is pretty. It has quite an array, so it once fully upgraded, it serves as a robust POI deleter. If you're really not a fan of POIs and you want to go break them, this is the build for you. Again, just staying with the trend, looking for the little cabinet. We got a couple here around the thruster area. So, not bad for back coverage. We got quite a few. What is that, like 7 or 8? Let's see. Yeah, we're looking pretty good here. I think we got them all. maybe this one isn't properly placed. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so I think I did the numbers on it. I think it's like 20 with this particular angle here versus POI, it's something like in the neighborhood of 20 turrets. Not too bad, not too bad. It works well as not only just like a POI deleter, but also good against CVs. Very robust. Okay, so that's our turret selection. So let's take a look at some of our options for inside our supplemental devices, such as food processor, trauma station, constructors, all that sort of thing. Quite a few placement for constructors. Maybe for some reason you want to convert this into like a SV miner build and you want to process some ores on a run, so that'll give you quite a few options here. So there's two. So a couple things we have is this little section here. This is a 4x1. So we could go, maybe we want to go food processor, which would make sense since your fridges are located up front here, right? That's your two fridges. So that'd be a good placement for food processor. Or if we wanted to, we could go for a forward placement of a trauma station. Like that. Or maybe we're not satisfied with just two constructors and we want to go nuts. There's two additional one. And maybe we don't like marigold, the color of the bed sheets. So let's go ahead and take this out, right? And boom, we have two additional constructors. So that's 6 constructors. Yeah, whatever you got going on. If you want to process some ore, there it is. All right, so that's the forward section. Now we have our deployment room here. So we have placement for an additional trauma station. So we can be working this thing from 2 angles. Maybe we're POI assaulting. We have a back section here we can enter, and we have the trauma station there we can tap off. Or maybe we have our forward entrance here. Maybe you're parking closer to the front, and we just run in here and tap off if this is our trauma station placement. So there it is. That is our device placement. Should be all of it. Yeah, okay. So now the build comes with a couple color options. We have a blue here, and also what we are calling a special ops color. Looks pretty good, actually. Looking good. Okay, enough of that. So in order to modify our colors, what we want to be looking at is in this forward section of the cockpit, we have our color picks. I will have the post on a workshop, so if you want to clear this clutter up and maybe put something else here or just get it out of your face, just swing by the workshop and we'll be able to recover those color placements. So first thing we want to do is we're going to highlight this numerical value and Control-C, copy. This, of course, is we want to have our texture and color tools. So once we have acquired that, we're going to hit configure here. Having clicked on this top left position, we want to hold down shift, and at the bottom there, while holding shift, we're going to press the left mouse button, and then what we want to do is press paste. First of all, let me make sure I'm not copying the default color. All right, let's try blue. That should be a different color. All right, so same thing, top left, shift, holding it down, and then left click, and we hit paste. Okay, and then we hit OK. Now we have done our color transition. Congratulations. All right. So again, touching base on what I was talking about earlier, STAG is part of a multi-build system. I guess we could call it that. So think of it like maybe if you can think of like the Helios, J. Randall's Helios, how it has modules and such. So what we have working with it is the Bantha Pod. This was released recently. This is a 32K harvest system. Purposely built to work with it. So one of the crutch of SVs is you don't have a respawn chamber. So here, now, not only can we provide a respawn with the chamber, we also can provide an additional 62K cargo system. Alright, so there's a number of ways to attach this thing. You could go for a vertical mount, you could just go for a side mount. If you're parking on a side, it's easier to disengage. Whereas if you're vertically mounting, there's a little bit of work to it. So if we just bump up against this thing to the side, we got it docked up. It's just an easy ejection. Look at that, real smooth. So no muss, no fuss. All right, so you could go one of these, you could go two of them. Again, the role of stag, that's defined by you. So if you're thinking assault gunship, there it is. Maybe you want to do like a complete hauler and salvaging system on planets. So boom, let's just roll with two of these pods and fill those babies up. There you go. So that's one thing. It also works as like a wolf pack system. So this was purpose-built to work with Stag. This is the Actus 2. This also is on the workshop. So we have wing mounts here. There it is. So we could park up to 4 of these. We'd want to, if we're going to park back here, we just park it reverse to it. So this is our parking position here, these thin blocks. So just keep an eye on that. So a number of things there. You could go 2 of these on one wing, and maybe you want to put a pod there, or maybe you just want to go 4 of them. So Wolfpack Tactics. You got you guys chilling in here, just hanging out, waiting for that call out of that CV coming up, and you and 4 of your mates, you go and pop that CV, wolf pack it. So maybe Stag goes in. This is the primary damage dealer, and then backs off. It's recharging its shields while these guys go in, and they just keep the enemy shield suppressed, not letting it recharge. You can work in it that way. Yeah, that's pretty much it, folks. Strategic Transport Assault Gunship. Stag. Alright, so thanks for checking it out. You'll have a good one. LyfeForce out.